Welcome back, you guys. It is American Lunchbox Podcast. Woo! And we are here again, yet to give you, of course, more of what you ask for. And that is of me, Battle, of Chris. Say hello, Chris.
Hello.
And of Tim.
Woo!
Say hello, Tim.
Greetings and salutations.
What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing today?
Doing good.
Oh, man, so glad to see you guys, man, back again for another week of this great podcast world. I want to, of course, thank everybody for coming back, for those of you all who listen to us on a regular basis, but more importantly, not saying you all important, but more importantly, those of you all who are listening for the first time, send us a shout out, jump over to our YouTube station, just type in there, American Lunchbox Podcast, and we're the only ones because we own this lane. This is us. This is proprietary. This is our property right here.
Right.
So go ahead and click in there, and you'll find us. Subscribe to the station, and most importantly, continue to come back because that's what we're here for. But anyway, guys, what's going on? How was your week this week? What's going on with you? Now I'm looking at Chris on this side, and I'm looking at Tim on this side. So I'm gonna jump over to Chris here. Chris.
Reverse that, George.
Okay.
It's the reverse.
Sorry about that, guys. We got we're doing this thing live today, so let's do the. Okay, so I got Tim on this side, and I got Chris on this side.
There you go.
Okay, so we got the beauty and the beast, or the beast and the. Okay, don't worry about it. You guys are both good. Chris, tell me how your week was last week, brother.
George, I got a handwritten letter from the local Jehovah Witness chapter.
Oh!
In the age of COVID, they have sent a social distancing message of comfort and hope from the Bible.
Okay. Well,
they don't want to knock on the door, which is very nice of them.
Okay. This
message of hope.
Let's hear it.
Says this: the Bible offers hope with a promise from God in the book of Revelations. Chapter 21, verses 3 to 4, where we learn that soon he will do away with all pain and suffering.
Okay.
So that leaves me pretty hopeful for the immediate future.
Well, thank you for broadcasting that message of hope for us. We do take hope very seriously. And but again, we don't live in the state of fear. So therefore, for us, Christopher, we remain in love, not fear. So could you join me in sending a message of love today?
Always.
Okay. All right. Not fear, but love.
No. Even those people throwing the Molotov cocktails, it was loving. Those throws were love.
I felt the love, even as it reached.
It was warm. It was warm. It felt like gasoline. Warm.
So thank you for that message of hope.
Yes.
And we send everyone out their love. Tim, what's your good word for the day? What's your good word for the day?
My shit word for the day is OBS Live Studio. That's my shit word for the day.
Oh, okay. OBS Live Studio. Tell us a little bit more about why this is your shit word for the day.
Well, we are attempting. We're not making any promises here, but we are attempting to try to go live next week. We are attempting that. So we're doing
Are you telling everybody we're going live next week?
That's the attempt. That is the attempt.
Okay.
So we're playing around with different software, trying to figure out what's going on. By the way, in the comments below, for those of you that really like our show, please try to put your predictions about what could go wrong during this show, and we'll see who gets it right by the end of the show. Let's see what technical snafus happen. We'll see what if my video goes blank, who freezes up. So yeah, it'll be an interesting experiment today. So.
Yeah, we don't need ABC's production money to get a live and social distance show.
That's right.
There you go.
All himself.
That's the perfect segue. Christopher, you hooked me right up. Thank you so much, Chris. Because
no problem.
Who in their right mind thought that we should do an Emmys around the world? Basically a live show with all the celebrities instead of the people watching. Now I can appreciate, obviously, that most celebrities are dying to be seen right now because their ego is shit right now because they can't be on television. They can't be on stage. So they need something to boost their egos. So what do? Now, of course, you and I both know, all of us, we work in television, that this season has been shit because half the shows ended well before it actually premiered. I mean, well, some of them didn't premiere at all. So what kind of awards are we giving away, which basically has no TV involved?
Yeah, that's the question. Are you tuning into those things to see if you're tuning in to see the glitz and glamour, it's just not there.
No.
If you're tuning in to see the celebrity's living room, I mean, okay, cool. I thought it was a little more interesting when they did the NFL draft because there was people who didn't want to be on camera being forced by the league to be on camera. So you saw like Bill Belichick's dog, like him walking away from his kitchen table while his dogs were just running around. In this case, like you're saying, yeah, it's just people who are in this look at me time in a time where people don't want to look.
And it's incredibly staged too. It's like, you know, I mean, they're showing some of the celebrities in a waiting room or in a hotel or whatever, and it's like, oh, here, hand them the Emmy. It's like, oh yeah, that wasn't staged at all.
So that goes to show you that everybody knew they were going to win that won.
Yeah.
But so
that's what I was wondering. What were there people like, say for instance, Jennifer Aniston didn't win, but the Zendaya girl won the Emmy, and they handed it to her right away. So was there someone right next to Jennifer going like, oh no, like, did that win feel extra? Right? Did that loss feel extra bad because you were looking at it 2 feet from the camera, and then they just went like, not for you. Psych.
But I guarantee you, much like everything else during this year, it's going to be an asterisk on this particular show as well. Now, for people who don't know what an asterisk means, in baseball, whenever there's something that taints a certain category or score, they add an asterisk next to it. For example, Barry Bonds, for his the allegations that right. The allegations that he used steroids, but obviously we don't know that because he never admitted it. But for the year that he was allegedly using, they put an asterisk by his name to signify that this particular score was tainted in a way.
I should think it's complete BS, but okay.
Right? So this award show will also have an asterisk by it because it too is tainted. It's tainted by the COVID, but more importantly, it's tainted by the fact that we all can count. We all know that, that this was staged, and they all have to figure out who was the best winner in all these categories, not based on their performance, because they didn't perform a whole season. Am I off base here?
Right. So you're saying these picks were extra political this year because that's all they had to rely on?
Hence, the most blacks ever nominated. The most blacks that actually won this year, ever. But who saw it? Who really paid attention?
Right. Nobody. They also gave a lot to, say, Schitt's Creek, which is a show that
no one's heard of. What the fuck?
Well, that's the thing. Some people said, oh, check it out. But I was like, oh, is it season 1? No, it's actually, they might have been giving this to the show as a thank you because the show ended. In the same way that they started gifting Lord of the Rings those best Oscar pictures because the thing had come to an end.
It had come to an end, and again, that show doesn't even exist anymore. You can't come back to that show. But yet, in the last season, which was a half season, it won all of these Emmys. Do you think that's a little weird?
Okay, George, would you say this? Because I kind of felt this way too, that the whole thing just felt very safe.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That was the word I kept in my... That was the only word that was implanting in my head as I was watching. It was safe. It's all very safe.
The only non-safe part, which I love and I kept replaying, was the acceptance speech by Dave Chappelle. I don't know if you all saw that acceptance speech, but it was hilarious because not only did it look like he was performing a stand-up while he was doing it, but of course, he did it on his own platform, which allowed him now to use all of the profanity that he wanted. He called out all the critics, right, basically for saying, you all said that this was a bad show, but I have 2 Emmys to prove you wrong. Stay basically in your lane. Don't talk about my show ever again. And he just, I mean, you're talking about somebody.
Shoot. Yeah, I got to check that out. No, I didn't see that part.
Man, that was the best acceptance speech ever. And you guys got to check that out when you get a chance. But if you guys haven't checked it out over there in podcast land, YouTube, go check it out. It is.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel during his opening monologue was sitting there saying how much TV has such a vital impact during COVID because it's our friend and it's been there for us and it's been there to help support us during this time of quarantine. And if that's the case, then where the hell's Tiger King? Come on, I was not nominated.
That's right. Well,
that's some of the best TV there. Where's more streaming stuff?
Tim brings up a really good point, and based on what you were saying too, George, is that these things are just becoming less and less relevant while the people that benefit from them are holding on tighter and tighter. Like Jimmy Kimmel's essentially saying, don't forget who loves you.
Right.
But he's also saying, don't forget to love us. And it just kind of reeks of desperation.
It does.
The viewers are, who knows if the viewers will come back after, I mean, maybe it's because of COVID. The viewers were on the decline anyway with these things.
Right.
Like, it's just, if we're in this age of authenticity, and then you're presenting this product, which is just not. I mean, and then the more that comes out about that Epstein stuff, it's like, oh, these people that were high on the pedestal, they were so full of shit. No, I'm not saying the people in that room were like that. But
right.
It's just, part of the reason that these people in positions of power were able to get away with stuff is because we put them up on a pedestal. And there was an infrastructure of, well, that'll rock the boat of this social financial thing we have going here. And I don't know if people are so willing to be charmed and mesmerized anymore, especially if the people are showing you what their living room looks like. They're kind of stripping away their own aura in a way.
Exactly. And I don't have a problem with that. That's one of the parts I can appreciate is the fact that everything's so raw. But I just think that the purpose of this and the attitude toward it is that Hollywood has done what their part during the COVID, when realistically, as we know, because there has not been any new shows since the COVID, that watching 8 episodes or 8 seasons of Frasier has been, or looking at backlogs of shows that you may have not, but there has not been any new shows.
There are. Oh, this is weird. So there's a new show. I think it's called
unless you're talking about animation,
and it's a show that looks like what we're presenting right now, but it's like a written show, but they're all on Skype. And Saturday Night Live did this as well. And to me, that's the last thing I want to see.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, except for our show, we want people to watch this.
No, of course. Different. Well, I mean, ours
is a different Skype show. Ours is an awesome Skype show.
Right. No, wait, I guess like a scripted thing reminding you. Okay, if I'm watching something scripted, I want to be taken into a little fantasy of that world.
Correct.
And the problem with presenting something that's so obviously made with the COVID stuff in mind and playing off that is that it's just another reminder.
Right, and that's why I think.
Why wouldn't I just watch old seasons of the X-Files? Why would I watch this new show?
And I think that's why. I think that's why animation.
The actors in the same room or ever potentially kiss.
Right, and I think that's why. And I think that's why animation, anything that doesn't involve people being in the same place, is gonna be a big. That's gonna be the big thing, coming up next season. I think is gonna be anything that can be, produced where people don't have to be in the same room. Anything that's not Skype. I think that's going to be a big thing because that'll be the escape.
You guys are going to have a lovemaking scene, but you need to sign the COVID waiver. You're going to be too close in this scene.
Oh, did you? By the way, I know last week we talked about sports, but bringing that subject up, did y'all hear about? I guess some of the coaches in the NFL were fined for not wearing masks in the on the sidelines. Oh my God!
Well, some of that is hilarious. There was one. Oh, you did?
Pete Carroll got fined. It was a couple of other coaches that because they didn't have. There was $100,000 fine. They got. I think they were up to almost $1 million in fines with everybody at the end of the day.
But meanwhile, all these people out in the field, they were sweating on each other, tackling each other in close contact. Yeah, that's okay.
After a tackle, I saw 3 guys helmet to helmet yelling in each other's face, and I'm like, how is this? Someone's gonna get COVID soon. It's been hilarious though to see like how the different coaches handle it. Is it Sean McVay, the guy from the Rams, the young guy, fit guy?
Yeah. He's
wearing a mask, and then out of habit, he was covering his face with the clipboard so no one could read his lips.
That's coaching. That's NFL world. Coaching at its best.
It's a crazy world.
But getting back to this Emmy thing, I think that at the end of the day, and I know I talk shit, but at the end of the day, if it takes the American people away from all of this bullshit, then so be it. I crumb on it because obviously I'm a part of this in some kind of way. And I know how we have been affected in the entertainment business because our business have not been able to come back in any of these phases. We're still in limbo right now trying to figure out how the next season is going to look. So I know I have my issues with how people are being perceived and how they're handling this. But if people, got entertained by it or they were able to see their favorite star and dress up and then not dress up, red carpet, no red carpet. But again, I believe a lot of this was for the entertainers themselves. This whole thing had nothing to do with fan base. It all had to do with themselves being able to show off something that they haven't been able to do in a long time.
Well, nothing beats live content. That's why we're going live. But also, it is pretty masturbatory. I mean, like we're talking about sports, and yeah, athletes have some dumb interviews, but the cool thing, even if kind of what they're gonna say, the same 5 things that athletes say. Oh, thank God, and we worked together. Jesus. We did it right. We one day at a time.
Thank you, Jesus.
Sometimes funny or aggressive or energetic stuff happens, and with the problem, and I know Tim and I've shared our disdain for these shows in the past. The problem with these shows is that what everyone's going to say.
Yeah.
Everything that everyone's going to say. It's the same thing they said the last time. From an entertainment factor, you know what's coming.
The question is, what political message are they going to send during their acceptance speech? Who are they going to sit there and say, I want to tell the world that George Bush or Donald Trump or whoever sucks. It's like, yeah, we've heard that before. But I mean, the Emmys, the Oscars, it's always been a self-congratulatory type of an event, and it's it's mostly benefits, I think, the local economy for the most part, where it's like you've got the balls, the caterers, the limo companies. I mean, those are the ones that are really missing out on this right now. Those are the ones that because I think during the I think it was like the actors' strike a few years ago. They kind of canceled the Emmys and the Oscars, and it was like that was like millions of dollars worth of money to the local economy, and those are the people I felt more sorry for. But yeah, the celebrities with their $1 million homes and whatever, I don't feel the least bit sorry for them. It's like, ooh, look at me. And I don't think, did anybody even know? I mean, aside from, we were doing a little pre-production meeting, we were talking about that we're going to talk about this today. I didn't even know there was an Emmys.
That was going to be my last point.
Yeah.
Who really gives a F at the end of the day? Because this thing wasn't even marketed, again, going back to the same thing. This wasn't marketed because how do you market a virtual show? But the celebrities knew about it. But to the public, and that's what I say, it wasn't really about us. It was about them being able to get on and listen. And I understand ego. I get it. But at the end of the day, you should be wanting your fan base to be able to log on. But how did they even know? No one even knew that it was going to be at Emmys 2020 until the press came out and basically start showing all of these videos. And it was like, okay, when is this happening? Oh, it's happening now? Oh, okay. How do I even tune in?
Right.
Well, we'll consider this too. Like a lot of that, obviously there wasn't full seasons in some cases, but a lot of the stuff was in the can. But what's it going to look like next year? So part of these shows is that you like follow what's going on, and unfortunately, there's not a lot to be hopeful for let's say you're someone who likes those TV dramas, and obviously in the last 10 years they've like really been on the upswing, and really 20 years with HBO now. I'm actually not a big fan of TV dramas. if they didn't have some sort of a horror sci-fi bent, more of a comedy guy for TV purposes at least, whatever. But let's say this golden age of TV dramas that has been going on. What's that going to look like in a year from now? Like this whole like going towards these high production value things is now over for the time being. It's over.
Yeah, it's done.
What's next year's thing? Will they even have any content to put next year? Or will it just be a Lifetime Achievement Award show?
We'll go back to reality TV like they did during the writer's strike, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
I don't have an answer.
Look at Big Brother. They sat there and they quarantined all the participants and put them in a bubble and said, okay, here you go. Now throw them in a house and with cameras and do their thing. So productions have been able to go out there and make it work. It's going to be limiting.
You could do that. You could do a Big Brother type thing now because as long as everyone's tested for COVID.
But again, that's reality TV,
and
though.
STDs, obviously.
Right, but that's reality TV, and reality TV has always been about quarantining their talent. It's never been about allowing them to be outside the house. They had to be in the house. They had to be on location for the entire because they wanted to keep them sequestered so they wouldn't be able so that obviously the media wouldn't find out who was the winner. Because if you see them walking around on Melrose, then you know that and the show is live. So they have made it a point to keep all of their participants quarantined. So this follows the same pattern as what we've always seen with The Bachelor, Bachelorette, and what was that, Bachelor Pad, and all of these other kind of reality shows.
That's a good point. They might take what Adam Sandler does with his little vacation movies and take the Bachelor format and be like, all right, we're making a new season of this show. A scripted drama show on a remote island so that you could really do a real show.
Yeah.
And just make sure everyone's quarantined.
But again, all we're doing right now is figuring out for them how to obviously come up with these ideas, but they're also thinking of the same thing. How do we move forward? How do we retain this lane of entertainment that has basically allowed us to make billions of dollars in years' time? And now it's in question. The economy of this is in question. And that right there is enough to make people lose their fucking minds. When you figure a person like Ellen or a person like who's used to being able to produce and earn dollars, even when she sleeps, have 5 shows, what is she going to do in order to be able to keep her lifestyle running a certain kind of way? And people are in think tanks right now. How is next season going to look? It cannot be all The Simpsons. It can't be all South Park. It can't be all animation.
Yeah, because that takes time to produce. It takes a lot of time to produce.
I'm more worried about what next season of our country is going to look like at this point, honestly.
Well, keep that in mind. As we go to a part of the show that unfortunately we've had to put on, in the 10 episodes that we've had the same feeling several times, and yet we're here again talking about the death of an important person, not only obviously in our culture, but in our world. I would venture to say the most powerful woman in the United States has just passed away. And obviously we're talking about...
Are you talking about Oprah?
No, not,
wow.
Not financially. Not financially, but the most powerful politically. Thank you so much for bringing that point, Chris. The most powerful politically, and that's Ruth Ginsburg, the Honorable, I should say, Ruth Ginsburg. And as we are only 41 days out of the election, this yet becomes another economic issue for me, but more importantly, a political issue with Congress. And it, again, takes away from what the debate is about, obviously, which now goes to first of all, can Donald Trump fill this position? And the answer is yes. But should he fill the position? What do you guys think?
Go, Tim, you go first.
Oh, he will. He will totally fill it. And I think he'll do it before the election. I think there was the threat of if if they wait till after the election, there's the possibility that the Democrats take back the Senate. Possibility. And if they do take back the Senate, then they'll pack the court, and so they don't want that. But I think Mitch McConnell's going to try to do it, try to sneak it in before the election. I love the backpedaling already that's going on, because of course they've been called out this week for the hypocrisy about saying that during Obama's nominee,
2016.
Yeah. That they said, we can't do that when we're less than a year away from an election, and it's one term or the last year of a sitting president. We can't be doing a nominee. The people need to be able to choose. And of course, and they've got on camera, and they've actually sat there and said, if there was a Republican in office, I would feel the exact same way, and I will go on record. If Donald Trump during the last year of his term or whatever, gets a nominee, then we won't vote on it, until after the election. And now they're backpedaling, and I love the answer to this, because I knew they would. My only question was, how are they going to BS this? How are they going to sneak this one past them? And the answer that they've given is that when it's different parties in the White House versus in Congress, that makes the difference. That then you have to sit there and you have to wait till after the election. But when it's the same party, it's okay.
Well, McConnell, the rhetoric is hypocritical.
Oh, absolutely.
The reality is the Republicans had the power of the Senate, and if you have that power, you do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
In this regard, the other thing with McConnell is it's not like people like his persona is that of a Bond villain in the way he unfortunately looks and talks and acts and talks shit. But in his case, he's there because conservatives want people like him to do stuff like that with the courts. The thing for Trump is that he has to worry more about, if I do this, do I get conservatives who thought I was too brash on my side for the election? If I don't do this or put someone more moderate forward, do I gain some potential Democrats that do come over to the Republican side as they did last time? I mean, I think it's, with him being a populist and not a conservative, I think the risk is higher for Trump than it is for the Republicans on this one.
Absolutely. And on top of that, how this does help Trump, believe it or not, is at least it changes the topic for a while. And he's loving that.
Nice.
He's loving the fact that he's not being hammered now about how he handled the COVID and other things. He now can, and I don't call it pivoting. Now he can just simply manipulate the narrative and say, I have a responsibility now as president. And not only that, he could use this as a way of either getting the super conservative and the religious people to say, hey, I'm for you, I'm pro-choice, and I will make sure that I get someone on the Supreme Court that's going to. Now, mind you, it's already 4-4, right? No, it's 5-4. It was 5-4 with her, and now
so
obviously
it's 5-3. But then
it's 5-3.
We don't know that'll always be the vote. But
we don't know it. But at this point, we know that if we add another conservative, it's more likely. So now you either have to look at the religious vote, or you have to look at the backlash of women now saying, wait, oh shit, how are you going to...
And when we say religious versus women, and we say liberal versus conservative, in this case, we're really talking about one issue. It's one issue.
True.
It's abortion.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when we're looking at how the American people are going to respond to this, Trump is in the middle of this, whether he likes it or not. And he could very well say, and polling, and there's not a lot of information on this, but the new polling says that most Americans think, 68% of Americans think that we should wait until the next president decides, who, instead of rushing into this. Because what it does is it takes the whole topic off of the stimulus package. Now, because we've been crunching for the last month and a half to get a stimulus package for the American people, and now this is going to take precedence in Congress, taken away from, of course, the American people, which will change the outcome of the election if we continue down this road. And who benefits? The Democrats.
Let me ask you something about, I guess, Roe versus Wade. Like, everyone is freaked out, say in Massachusetts or this really liberal place, that abortion would be banned. But I mean, the Supreme Court is talking about federal cases, right? I mean, theoretically, if abortion was, or if Roe vs. Wade was overturned, that doesn't equal a ban. And even if there was some sort of a federal, something out of all it does is open it back up for states to individually decide on this issue.
Well, right? and that's kind of the problem, though. If you have a conservative court, because a lot of these cases have been brought to the court to whether or not the states have the right to limit abortion or have any kind of limitation, and so now that's something that the Supreme Court can sit there and decide or not decide. That's the other thing too. It's not just the power of the courts to sit there and decide cases. The Supreme Court can decide. You know what? Kick it back to the lower court. We're not going to decide on this. You know, whatever their decision is, that's great.
Homelessness crisis.
So yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but like I said, the Supreme Court has it does have a lot of power, and it's a huge legacy. But Chris, yeah, to your point, let's say you put somebody on the bench for 20 or 30 years, their politics change, their ideology changes. So there's no guarantee that they're going to sit there and side with the Republicans or side with Trump. 99% of the time, 100% of the time, they're going to sit there and they're going to have their own opinions, and it may be based on the law, it might be based on how good the argument was. But yeah, it's it is definitely interesting, and if they outlaw abortion tomorrow, I'm not going to be affected by it, in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I know you and George were having a running tally as to who could pay for the most.
Who could pay for the most what?
Dr. Pepper's.
Oh, Dr. Pepper's.
Yeah. No, sorry, I got sidetracked.
But
what about this? Do you think this would be a good compromise between liberals and conservatives? We make abortion legal everywhere forever, but we have to talk about it in non-PC terms. We have to call it baby murder.
Chris, I have no idea what that rhetoric you just spilled is all about. I have no idea. You're fucked up. I don't even know what as I'm listening to it, I'm saying, but then as you finished, it still doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe when I play this back, I'll be able to get a better understanding or overstanding. But at this point, you're fucked up. So
Chris is fucked up this week.
Tim, I'm not going to talk to him anymore.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to you. Tim,
all right, what up?
So my issue here is also in 2000 when Bush and Gore had to go to the Supreme Court because of the Florida issue.
The Chads.
You remember the Chads?
The Chads.
It had to go to the Supreme Court. Now what do we do if we don't assign? Suppose this election, God forbid, ends up in the Supreme Court.
And you just made a great point. You just made my point as to why they're going to try to get somebody in before the election. They are not going to wait to the lame duck session at all.
That would be what would happen. Okay, let's say they didn't. Let's say if it came down to that, and let's say one of the conservatives flipped and it was a true 4-4 split. What then?
I think Congress is the tiebreaker or something. I think it goes to
Congress. Oh, you're talking about both the House and the Senate?
Yeah, I think there's a vote or something. I'm not sure what happens.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's definitely.
So
I guess what I'm saying, Tim, is regardless of what happens then, in terms of the procedural, if it gets kicked to something as politicized as the Congress, what happens to us on the ground floor at a cultural level?
I think a lot of people are moving to Canada then.
Nah, people are going to wait it out.
Like, we're talking about this thing is just getting more.
Oh, it's going to get ugly.
It's just growing on this culture.
Well, I think you said it in an earlier text. It might be civil war.
I don't want to be like. I don't want to be hyping up something that I'm just saying it's the wording would definitely be out there.
Right. I mean,
there'd be people saying that out loud.
Right.
There'd be people threatening.
Sure. And you know what? I survived Bush. I survived all these other people people have been saying the same thing for a long time. Oh, this person gets elected, I'm going to move to Canada, and it's like, yeah, obviously that didn't happen. But it's we would survive. We would get past it. We'll get past all this. If whether you're a Democrat, Republican, whatever your flavor is, and if there's somebody in office you don't like, you'll get past it. You'll survive.
You're a mature person. You'll get past it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are screaming right now that aren't so mature. What's going to happen then? I mean, if these guys are rioting because nothing, what's going to happen then?
Whoa. Nobody's rioting because of nothing.
Some people are rioting because of nothing.
No. I don't believe that at all. I believe everybody has a purpose. Whether we agree with that purpose or not, they are doing it for a reason.
Some interviews on the ground floor with some of those people. Those people are so looking for a reason to riot. I mean, what the reason is can change.
That's what I'm saying.
This would be a great reason.
Well, I'll tell you what. If there is more looting and rioting in the street, I'd say stay tuned for American Lunchbox Podcast. That'll be our next live show. we'll be live. We'll be live to cover the blood in the streets.
We're gonna do man on the streets. You guys are gonna go out there on the streets with me and do man on the streets, or women on the streets, child on the streets. They're all out there these days.
I'll do it. Crack on the streets.
Is there a way to reconcile this divide, or is this divide gonna get worse? I think that's the real concern that I have. Is this divide reconcilable?
Well, my hope is it is. Yeah. I mean, we don't want to go down this whole doomsday shit because we're not at a point of doomsday. This is just politics. We're not at war. This is not, because Tim made a good point. Tim said he'll survive. But the reality is that, if Trump actually makes this appointment, believe it or not, he ties Nixon as the president equal to the amount of appointments in his presidency. Some people didn't survive Nixon, by the way. Some people didn't survive that time. So to say that you'll survive may be good for you, but I'm going to go with Chris on this one and say not all of us will survive in this situation when government starts to act as if they understand truly what the people are going through, and they're all doing what they are wanting to do to get themselves to where they need to be. So when we're looking at how this shit will play out, it's going to be interesting. And unfortunately, there will be repercussions. And I'm just praying and hoping that the repercussions don't affect those who are most marginalized, most disfranchised, because that's usually, unfortunately, where it goes.
You're saying you're saying the country would be so hyper-conservative that discrimination would return against minorities?
Well, it return as if it has gone somewhere? No, I'm saying it's going to be heightened because it's never gone anywhere. It's going to be heightened for sure.
What about this as an alternative? Could it be that the left has gone so far out there that the messaging, the lessons they had to teach have already been learned? Meaning, everyone was pretty comfortable with the gay rights thing when it finally became legalized gay marriage. But then once they started talking about the transgendered thing, it's like all of a sudden here comes Trump, someone who was completely untenable to even think about in that role before, now became popular. Could it be that the left got so far, they won so many cultural battles that they started picking fights that the arguments were not so easy to win or just seemed a little too out there to the populace, and therefore these lessons that were learned by the tolerant side of the left were learned, and now that they've become more stringent, less tolerant, that now there's something that the right has to offer?
Could be. I mean, Chris, you know what? You could be spot on. But here's how I interpret what you just said. When a door opens, people go through. And I'm saying to you that there's more than just one cause. There's more than just one narrative. There's more than just one particular way of thinking. But what happens is that when one door opens, it allows people to come through. And the fact that when you speak about gay marriage, what that does is it talks about a community that is very diverse. So I don't have a problem with hearing from all of that community, because all that did was open a door for others to have a voice. So does that mean that we have to continue to discuss it? Yes. Does that mean that we have to continue to be sensitive to it? Because now what we've done is we've given people the opportunity we're giving people the opportunity not to fear their own voices. They've come out of.
Well, the Emmys would show that people are afraid to use their own voices because every accepting speech sounds the same. It sounds like groupthink. It
But-
sounds like if they step out of line with that ideology, they'll be in trouble. So at a certain point, the left went from being open and tolerant and willing to listen to all different sides to saying there is this orthodox, rather conservatively orthodox point of view, and it's getting a little further out there. And by the way, if you don't accept it, you're in trouble. Versus, hey, let me convince you of my argument. And if the right is currently widening the tent and saying, hey, can we try to convince you of our argument? If not, we're still willing to share a beer anyway. It's just longer term for the moment, an argument that would grow their base. I don't know if the same thing is happening on the left. And I don't know if trying to be extra harsh with your enforcement of your ideology, not yours, George, but just the left-leaning stuff, is helping their cause at the moment. I don't know if it's widening the tent or just making the people who are currently in the tent more and more stringent and more rigid in their thinking. Or
Right.
I get it.
Like I said, I'm sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I get it. It's, it's kind of goes back to the whole being the bully thing, or going from being bullied to becoming the bully. It's in that realm. But I mean, Chris, you sat there and said, that they overreached by sitting there. It was fine when it was just gays or gays and lesbians. That's fine. But when they expanded to LBGQ or whatever, I don't know. I kind of think, I look at that. I understand your point, but I kind of look at that and go, you go back to the civil rights and you go, okay, black people, but not the brown people. We don't want that. That's overreach. That's just too much. That's too many people we got to include. I don't know. I just kind of, it's like if it's in the Constitution, it says that fair treatment under the law, fair treatment for everybody. It's justice for all, not justice for these select people, not justice for this group, or justice for this group because we're okay this decade, but not this. You have to wait till the next decade to worry about it.
Well, I think that's actually the heart of the conflict, is that since the civil rights era, the quest for equality has at times stepped on the toes of other constitutional rights, such as religious freedom. And I think that's the core of this issue, is that there's people who are super duper into religious freedom and the ability to, in a way, discriminate for who they want or not want in their surrounding orbit, and the pointing finger of, hey, you're not being equal enough, and that's our current push.
Well, the only problem with the religious freedom is that it's used to discriminate against people. You can't. You can't use it as an excuse.
It's a constitutional right, and we also have freedom of association. So all of those things are constitutional, or at least places we're trying to go, but they're also in conflict with each other.
True, there is some conflict.
Yeah, I'm not. But, by the way, I'm not. If I see someone who's transsexual and they want to be called her or she, or yeah, it's fine. I have no issue with that. I'm just saying that at a certain point. It could be that by the stringency of the argument, it has opened this wide door to Trump and all these other people to recruit more right-wing people. Like the far left is becoming so stringent that, and the right is at least saying that they're not, and more people seem to be jumping over to the other side. That's the way I'm seeing it at the moment.
Right. Well, I mean, I think Trump tapped into that during the 2016 election, where it was like he got a group of people that were tired of the political correctness. We're tired of, are you tired of the political correctness? Are you tired of the Democrats who have just, done nothing but, gotten you absolutely nothing but transgender bathrooms or whatever? It's like, okay, I get that. That's what they tried to, that's what they tapped into. So, I get that. But it's, but at the same time, I mean, I feel like Democrats are at least trying to go after, or not going after, but, They've at least tried to include a lot of people, and they've tried to sit there and get rights and get help and get the assistance for people that were marginalized in the past. Where have Republicans done that? Where have Republicans gone out there and said, "Oh, okay, yeah, we represent." They'll sit there and they'll say that they represent the minorities, or they've done more for women, or they've done more. But point to where they've actually done more for anybody. They haven't.
And Chris, point to that beer.
But they're
point to that beer, because that beer that you spoke of, I want to know where that Republican is, where they're serving beer. Because you mentioned we're going to sit down and have a beer or something. They've never invited me to a beer, to a brewery and have a beer with me to have a conversation. Right. So tell me where that beer is happening, and then we can have a conversation.
Obama.
What I'm saying, George, what I'm saying is this, because look, I have concerns as well that should that door be opened to the conservative end, that things would become hyper conservative, and the future, as much as we currently worry about it.
What are you talking about? That was the Green Party. We went through this already. We went hyper conservative.
Here's what I'm getting at. Here's what I'm getting at. If the left does not course correct, we will end up with people voting hardline Republican and banning abortion and all this other stuff, but people being so pissed on their day-to-day life at the left and the fact that they don't feel like they could say what they want to say, which is freedom of speech, which is #1 in the Bill of Rights, that they will vote for some shit that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise had they not been so effing annoyed every day at the other side.
I understand what you're saying.
I get that.
I understand, and I agree. At a certain point, you got to say enough is enough, But that's not going to happen, Chris, because the reality is that until people have, especially those who are marginalized, especially those who are disfranchised, their voice will always need to be heard. And as long as someone's going to be able to use that as some way of creating a narrative or creating something politically to rally around the people, they're going to use it. So my question to you guys is, again, we're 41 days out of this election. 41 days, man. And it just keeps piling on the issues, and what we are dealing with here is something that has been unprecedented. We talked about an asterisk. This election will have an asterisk with 700,000 voter mail-in ballots just to be able to deal with that. And now the polling places and the time that's going to take in order for each person at 6 feet and figuring out, I mean, this is, again, 41 days before we have to choose a president. We have our debate coming up, guys. Yep. We're going to hit this shit live, as close as live as we can. So we are going to have the first voice out there. By the way. That also will have an asterisk. That word live. That word live is going to have an asterisk.
I'm working on it.
And Tim, we appreciate your hard work, but we're going to do our best to make sure that this thing comes off without a hitch, or at least hitches we can laugh at. Okay, but that's it for our show, guys. We kind of nailed the no pun intended. We kind of nailed this coffin down, but we also want to, of course, acknowledge the great work of a very strong and powerful woman. Her career spans 50 years, and her contribution has been huge.
Can I say one thing? I have a grandma that was like a modern marvel in that she had many bouts of cancer over like a 30-year period. So I understand how tough that could be. And in fact, what finally did her in is that they just ran out of parts they could take from her. She was down to, unfortunately, half of one lung and got another round of lung cancer. And the cancer was all over. So the fact that Ginsburg was able to keep working under that condition is perhaps the most incredible thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Given how sick you would be under chemo and other cancer treatments.
That's right. All right, guys, any shout outs for this week as we exit, as we 86 this place? Any shout outs for this week? Any American Lunchbox Podcast shout outs for this week, guys? What are you thinking?
I would like to shout out. I'll shout out my my brother from another mother, George Columbus, who's at the back in Queens at the Good Eats Diner on Grand Avenue in Maspeth, and it's a beautiful place. They have really big portions and it's good food. And trust me, I'm fat. I do recommend the beef barley, which I believe is on Tuesdays. So you could technically go there, listen to our show, and enjoy some beef barley soup at the Good Eats Diner. It's good stuff.
Oh, man. Shout out to George, man.
I got nothing. I yield to the gentleman on the top of the page there.
Well, there you go, guys. No shout outs for me this week either. I'm gonna save my shout outs for next episode. But guys, it's been fun as always. Thank you guys for participating. Guys, those of you all who are listening, make sure you subscribe, download, go over to the YouTube channel. Okay, make sure you give us some good comments. Let us know how you feel about the show. All right,
let us know how much you hate me for everything I just said.
Yeah, basically, and but don't hate him because he's a good guy. He calls himself fat. He's just a little meaty. He's just a little meaty, but we love him just the same. All right, so guys, next week we're going to try to run this live show. You guys stay tuned.
Right after the debate. Right after the debate, the presidential debate, we're going to be on. So for you guys who are listening, tune in. Otherwise, guys, we'll see you next week from American Lunchbox Podcast, episode 10. Ooh.
Peace.
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 See ya.